Good morning. If you guys missed it, my name is Mr. Sims. I'm Alex's dad. Most of Ms. Goodwin's class, I know you guys, some others of you have had classes with Alex before. So it's a pleasure for me to be here this morning, and I'd like to thank your teachers for allowing me to come in. Most of you may know that back in November, Alex was sick and he was in the hospital, and he was really sick. And I know that his class was kind enough to put together some get well cards. And by the way, thank you. They made him feel better, and they made us feel better as well. Alex got better, as you can see, but Alex is still sick. Now, as you look at him here today, he looks fine, right? He doesn't seem that sick. Alex has something called a chronic illness, which means he has a sickness that doesn't go away. It's not like a cold that comes on, you have it for a few days, maybe a week, and then you get better and it goes away. It is with him all of the time. And some days he has good days, some days he has bad days. But for the most part, without a little help, it's going to be very hard to get rid of. So, the reason I wanted to come to you today is, while I was explaining Alex's illness to a group of adults, I thought to myself, back to a story from back when I was a kid, and I was about your age. I think it was the end of second grade, maybe the beginning of third. I had a kid in my class, and his name was Ronnie. Ronnie was also kind of the same thing. He was missing from class for a couple of weeks. We heard he was in the hospital, and when he came back to school, he had braces on his legs that all the way from his waist down to his feet, and he walked on these crutches, and he looked a little funny. Okay? We'd never seen anything like that before. So we wanted to know what was wrong with him. But I imagine, like most of you, we'd be a little scared to ask. We didn't want to upset Ronnie, and we didn't want to make him mad, and we didn't want to lose him as a friend. So instead of asking about it, we just kind of avoided the thing. Teachers didn't explain it to us. So instead of talking to Ronnie, we just kind of avoided him. And as I think back on that, it was kind of sad. And when we'd go out at recess and we'd all want to run around and play, well, Ronnie couldn't do those things, so he would sit down somewhere quietly, usually by himself, and nobody would play with him, just because they didn't understand what was wrong with him. So as I was thinking about that, I said to myself, has anybody explained to you what's wrong with Alex? That's why I asked for the opportunity to come in here today and to talk to all of you, to tell you a little bit about what Alex's condition is and how all of you guys can help, okay? Now, Ronnie turned out to be better, and medical stuff is kind of complicated, so I'm going to simplify this as best I can. Let's talk about Alex. Alex has something called a genetic disease. Has anybody ever heard the word genetics or heredity? If you have, please raise your hand. Okay. Genetics is the information, excuse me, is the information, the genetic information, the biological information that you get from your mom and from your dad. And it comes together to make the instructions for you. Genetics is basically your mom and her parents, who would be your grandparents, and their parents, which would be your great-grandparents. And this can go back to generations, hundreds, if not thousands of years. A little bit of that information is passed all the way down to each and every one of you. So your mom's information and your dad's information, it comes together and it makes something called DNA. Has anybody ever heard the term DNA? Raise your hand. DNA is it's abbreviation for a very complicated word. It's called deoxyribonucleic acid. I'm so glad they abbreviate that. That's a hard word, right? Just remember DNA. When you get into high school, you'll learn a lot about genetics and DNA, but you guys are getting a jump start here today. What DNA is, in its simplest terms, it's the instructions that the genetic information makes to make all of you. It determines many things about you. It determines whether you're a boy or you're a girl. It determines what color skin you're going to have. It determines how tall you're going to be. It determines what kind of blood type you're going to be. All of that information comes together and it makes instructions. DNA is also present in every living thing on this planet. It determines whether you're going to be a plant, or a tree, or a fish. Are any of you those things? No. You're people, you're humans. Your DNA is human DNA. Your DNA is all the instructions for every cell in your body. It tells every cell what to be. Is it going to be an arm? Is it going to be a leg? Is it going to be your eyes or your ears? So those instructions are very complicated. And if there is a mistake on any of those instructions, that's called a mutation, which is another big word. It basically means there's a mistake. And that's what Alex has. He has a genetic disease, a DNA mistake. It's an error. Now, his specific error is in something, like I told you, some of them make arms and legs. The error that he has is in his immune system. Now, I'll tell you about your immune system here in just a minute, but I want to ask everyone a question, and I want everybody to be honest. Now that I've told you that Alex's condition goes back to even before he was born, it goes back to his genetic information, his instructions. Is there anybody, be honest, by raising your hand, how many of you think you can catch IPEX syndrome from Alex? You cannot. The one thing I want all of you to know is there is a 0% chance that any of you can get Alex's IPEX syndrome. You have your own instructions. You had them from the time you were born. They cannot be changed without a lot of work from a lot of doctors and scientists. It takes a lot of hard work to change that information. So seeing him every day, shaking his hand, you're not going to get it from him. Okay? Now, I told you his mistake was on something called his immune system. Does anybody know what your immune system does? Raise your hand. Good. Your immune system is the part of your body that helps protect you against germs and viruses and disease and anything that's not supposed to be in your body. That's kind of complicated, and most of your immune system is contained within your blood cells that are made in your bones. What happens is there's different kind of immune cells. And what they do is there's 3 basic types. There's the monitor or the reporter cells, and they go out and they look for problems, and they look around and they go, do I see anything? Is that Miss Goodwin or is that a cold? I think that's a cold. There's about 10,000 of them too. We better go back and tell everybody so we can get rid of it. So your monitor or reporter cells go back to your bone marrow and they report to the generals. Now the generals are the ones in charge of your immune system. And they say, the reporter cell says, I saw a cold and we need to get rid of it. Well, the general asks, how many are there? Well, there's about 10,000 of them. So the general says, we need to make about 10,000 soldier cells to get rid of them. Your body works very hard to make those cells. They run out and they fight whatever that germ is and hopefully get rid of it, and you get better, right? That's the way your immune system is supposed to work. In Alex's case, there's a problem. He has very bad instructions in his immune system. So when those reporter cells or those monitors go back to his generals and say, I saw a cold virus, and the general asks, how many are there? And the monitor goes, I don't remember. So the general says, well, I want to make sure and have enough to get rid of it. So instead of 10,000, I'm going to make 100,000 soldiers. Well, what they do is they all go out, and it's a lot of hard work for your body to make those cells. They run out and they go to fight whatever it is in your body that's not supposed to be there. But if they only need 10,000 of them, and I've made 100,000, that means there's 90,000 extra soldiers sitting around with nothing to do. What they want to do is they want to fight, and they want to keep you safe. And their instructions are really bad. The generals really didn't tell them what to do. So what they do is they start attacking anything that they see, even though it might be good stuff. And that's what's happened to Alex. It starts attacking the healthy stuff in his body, the healthy organs and tissues that he actually needs. For example, Alex has always had very weak muscles in his arms and his legs because his IPEX syndrome, his immune system, has attacked his muscles. He frequently has pain because it's attacked his nerves, and nerves are what cause pain and feeling in your body. It's attacked his skin, and so from the inside out, he'll get a rash called eczema, dry skin. It causes him problems. You know, you get a rash and you want to scratch it really bad, right? Imagine that started on the inside, it would drive you crazy. It also has attacked his digestive system, so his stomach and his intestines, and that usually means he has to go bathroom more than most people do, and that's kind of inconvenient as well. One of the things that it did was when he was 2 years old, his immune system, he got sick, and it attacked his pancreas, and it attacked the cells in his body that make insulin. Raise your hand if you know what insulin does. That's a hard one, right? Whenever you eat anything with sugar or drink anything with sugar, it gets into your body. Insulin helps you break that sugar down. It either says, I need to store it, I need to use it, or I need to get rid of it. If it doesn't do that and it sits in your body, it turns it into a poison, and it can make you very, very sick. So every time that Alex eats more than a couple bites, we have to give him a shot of insulin. When you don't have enough insulin or your body stops making insulin, you have a disease you've all probably heard of. It's called diabetes. okay? And if it's not treated, it can become very serious. So what we have to do is 6 times a day, at least 6 times a day, Alex gets a shot of insulin. To check and see what his blood sugar is, I have to take a little tester out, poke a little hole in his finger 6 to 10 times a day, get a little drop of blood. Some of you on a field trip have probably seen me do this. I put in this little, thank you, I'll get it. I put in this little tester, a little drop of blood, and it tells me what his blood sugar is, and that's how much insulin I know to give him with how much sugar is in what he eats. So he gets poked by this 6 to 10 times a day. Alex also has to go in every 2 weeks and get a blood test done, and every week, to help his immune system, he gets an infusion, which is an IV, where we put 2 little needles into his belly, and he has to sit there for an hour and a half while this IV goes into him. I figured it out one day. Alex gets poked by a needle about 90 times a week. So the next time you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, today I have to give you a shot. Don't go, oh, not a shot, I don't want a shot, it's gonna hurt. What I want you guys to do is think of Alex getting stuck 90 times a week and say, you know what, it's gonna hurt for a minute, but go ahead, doc, I'm ready, I'm gonna be brave just like Alex. Okay? He takes it pretty well, but I wouldn't want to be stuck 9 times. Anyway, that's what's wrong with Alex's immune system. Basically, his immune system is slowly attacking his body, and it's destroying all the healthy things that he needs.